good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening. This is Gregory Sane. Stake your claim with Gregory Sane and Minister Mike, the new black leadership, here live in the studio as I promised on IntellectualRadio.com. Phone number 708-223-8953. Let me tell you something. I, like many of you all that are watching and tuning in, I have been listening to this debate, but before I get into this whole debate debacle, let me thank Almighty God for blessing us with another day of life on this planet called Earth. I am so thankful that I woke up in my right mind and I woke up feeling as though we are going to be all right. In spite of, we are going to be all right. And I'm glad to be back here in the studio with another show. And we're going to continue some of the discussion that we had last week. But before I get into my commentary, because I'm coming out of the gates to talk about this debate debacle, and I'm telling you, it is absolutely shameful. Anyway, I am going to let Minister Mike go ahead and talk
Okay.
real early.
Thank you, Brother Gregory. I just want to thank everybody who's tuning in right now and who tunes in every week as we offer our perspective, our assessments, our analysis, our viewpoint, and share with our community what is in our heart, what is in our spirit, what our best intentions are with regard to the New Black Leadership Coalition, which is our effort to speak into the vacuum of credible, reliable, consistent, um, courageous Black leadership that is missing from the equation of Black people here in Chicago and throughout the United States of America. Unfortunately, we have a lot of very well-educated, formally educated individuals who serve in various capacities in front of our people, but we really don't have true warriors. We really don't have true advocates. We really don't have people who are unapologetically Black and unashamed to advocate for the needs of the hurt, suffering masses of Black people. We really don't have that in front of us. And so our effort is to represent that over the airways while we work behind the scenes to organize a core group, a cadre of young Black men and women who have sat at the seat of some of our most notable elders and pioneers of Black freedom, justice, and equality, and who have disciplined their life according to the best of our best of those teachings and those philosophies, and have made a commitment throughout the span of protracted span of time to those principles and those teachings, and who can put forward before our community, before not too long of a time has passed, a model for Black leadership, true Black leadership that is representative not just of the educated class or the wealthy class, but a model of leadership that represents all of us, and especially the least of us, because when we lift the bottom, we lift the middle and the top as well. And so I thank you, Brother Gregory, for hosting this hour every week, that we can get our message out and begin to present some of those who represent the New Black Leadership Coalition.
Thank you, Brother Mike. And that is absolutely right on target with where I want to go regarding this debate. I've been listening, and I know many of you all have been listening. And I promise you, just be honest with yourself. Take away the emotions and just reason with me. You can put both of them together, Mrs. Clinton and Mr. Trump. They both are horrible in their articulation
Mm-hmm.
of honesty. See, this is too serious, but that's why you realize that when you put forth two incompetent individuals verbally, in terms of at least, you got to give um, brother Barack Obama credit that he was a master at speaking. Neither one of them, and really, that is not what turns me on. Is how well you speak, but how sincere you are with what it is that you can realistically do to fix a historical, scientifically wicked problem that has placed people in this position. And I listened to, and Mr. Lester Hall, brother, you're doing a horrible job as a moderator, because both of them are, I mean, it's like a game. And it's really unentertaining to me. Now I know I was reading some of the Facebook posts just a couple of minutes ago, and and some of the people that's on Twitter, and so you got people for Hillary and you got people for Mr. Trump, and when I read that, folks, it is six in one hand and a half a dozen in the other hand. Be honest, it is. It's like Lucifer and Satan.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's the fox or the wolf.
Mm-hmm.
It's Matt Dillon or Bob Dylan. I mean, it's the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me what you heard tonight that give you hope. And look, I want this conversation to be interactive. You should call and share your perspective on how you feel about the debate. Call in. This ain't about Gregory saying or Minister Michael Muhammad. You have a perspective. What do you? I see some of what you say in your comments, but call in. The lines are open, 708-223-8953. What is your perspective of this debate? And tell me why you keep telling people to vote for Hillary, or why you telling people to vote for Trump? Why are you pushing this more than you pushing cleaning up the community,
Mm-hmm.
organizing,
Mm-hmm.
unifying? Why you don't push that? Where's your emotion at when it comes to that? So tell me, why should we, or what did you hear tonight? That's my first question. What did you hear tonight? Let's go to the crime piece. I'm a fast forward it, because that's very talked about right now. If you listening to my voice right now, call in and tell me. You heard Mr. Trump mention the amount of murders in Chicago. He kept talking about Chicago. But tell me, what did you hear about the policing? What did you hear about the crime that will tell you, or for you to tell me or others, that we should vote for either one of those candidates? What did you hear tonight? 708-223-8953. The lines are open and waiting on your perspective. I want to hear what you have to say. If you're going to vote for Hillary, tell me why. And don't tell me you're voting for her because it's the less of the two evils. That's stupid. Evil is evil. What did you hear tonight? What did you hear? And don't tell me who won the debate, because that's so stupid. I think I think they both did a terrible job. That's what I think. Now tell me what you think. You got it. Right now, it's all you. 708 223-8953. But Minister Mike, while people are making up their mind about sharing your perspective, your thoughts, your disappointments, I don't know how you feel, but I know you've been watching the debate. You can go on Facebook and post stuff. You got an opportunity to talk to the whole world right now about how you felt about that so-called debate. Because it sounds like a real silly, immature argument between two folks are being dishonest. That's what I heard. I heard dishonesty with Mr. Trump about him filing, his tax return. I heard dishonesty with Miss Clinton talking about her 33,000 or so many emails. I heard dishonesty. Nobody was being authentic at all. And it was pipe dream stuff. And there was a lot of contradiction, especially when they start talking about the NAFTA thing, raising the taxes, lowering the tax. That's the same rhetoric. And if the other presidents wasn't able to deliver that, what makes her think she gonna deliver that? And that's gonna create some jobs. I mean, on my way here, I went through a construction site. I didn't see hardly any black people working. That's a problem. That's a problem. That's a local issue, but it's all tied to the national treasure. But Minister Mike, I know you were listening to the debate in the car on your radio. You probably watched some of it on television. I don't know if you got a chance to. I didn't. I was already in traffic. But honestly, I really didn't. I didn't feel like Mr. Trump or Mrs. Clinton. I really don't feel like neither one of them is so-called presidential. I didn't. So I don't know what the stupid polls are going to say tomorrow, or what the narrative is going to be, and what spin they're going to put on it, because all of that stuff is to sell newspapers and to get ratings. But the disaster and the hell that Mr. Trump talked about, that the inner cities are in, he used that word, they're in a hellish condition. With Mr. Trump, folks like you that have not shared your wealth either, don't you sound like you some little innocent bystander, because you've been getting over. You one of those privileged individuals. We got some black folks that are millionaires and a few billionaires. And that's our issue right there, is that we won't pool our resources. We telling people, you got to vote like it's a dying emergency. That is so silly. No, you need to love your people and yourself. You need to clean up your community. You need to speak to your neighbor. You need to make sure you're managing your children. You need to make sure you're making peace with yourself, your family, your wife, your girlfriend. You need to make sure that you get up and you are productive every day. That's what we need to do. And if we never voted, we're going to be all right. See, but because we don't do those things, we putting all of our eggs in this basket of false hope. Politics, and we've quoted this a few times, without economics is symbol without substance. Tell me what substance you heard tonight. Did you hear any substance tonight, Michael? I mean, any substance that will, and let's take away the black leadership, since we in this society that's not blind, color blind, but let's hypothetically have a conversation that we're working with folks that are working with us. What did you hear tonight, policy-wise, that would change the plight, unemployment, that would fix the so-called bad educational system, that will deal with crime, What did you hear in either one of those candidates, policy-wise, that and if their leadership is going to be the answer to it? Did you hear anything seriously?
Well, I think anybody who has any level, minimal level of consciousness about the conditions that exist throughout the United States of America, listening to Secretary Clinton and Mr. Trump, if you listen carefully without emotion, if you detach yourself from the emotion that most commonly is connected to listening to Secretary Clinton on the part of Black people, because we connect her with President Barack Obama, and we connect her with being Democrats, and we connect her with being potentially the first female president. All of that sounds good, but again, it is symbol without substance. So if you listen to her objectively and you backlight what she's saying with her record and her reputation is as dark and dim and corrupt as Mr. Trump's, because she is known to be a liar. She is known to be among the elitists, financially, economically. She is known to be a war hawk. She is known to advocate the overthrow of governments around the world. She is known to be an extreme lobbyist for certain corporations over other corporations. And so when I listened, I basically I feel as though I'm listening to two con artists. Now, Mr. Trump, I believe, believes what he's saying, even though he will fabricate or embellish to make his point. I think Mr. Trump is sincere about what he's saying. He may not be equipped with the experience and the knowledge to match the experience and knowledge of Secretary Clinton. But fundamentally, what I will say to Black people before I give way to our guest tonight is that we have to wake up and realize that America, according to some estimates, is approximately $65 trillion in debt. Some estimates have it much higher. America is in trouble. America is in deep, deep distress. And it's going to take somebody who has the kind of character to fall on their face, confess the sins of America, humble themselves to the poor, and craft a strategy politically, economically, sociologically, etc., that will uplift poor whites, poor Blacks, poor Hispanics, poor Native Americans, and the poor, particularly Black people in America, who have given more sweat, blood, tears, and equity to make America wealthy and powerful than any other group except for maybe the Native Americans. If we do not have national leaders who will accept responsibility for making America atone for how she has destroyed Black people here and peoples all over the world, then I don't see how either one, Clinton or Trump, will offer any real solutions to move America out of her perilous plight.
Thank you. Folks, we're going to take a quick break. I want to give you the number when we come back from the break, 708-223-8953. Come from the break. We're going to have our guest on the show, Mr. Joe Watkins, and we're going to keep this conversation going. Be right back. Okay, we're back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Back here at IntellectualRadio.com. This is the new Black Leadership. You would stake your claim. Gregory Saying got my guest here in the studio, Mr. Joe Watkins, and we were just listening to Minister Mike that gave an excellent perspective on the condition and really the mindset and what it really would take economically, politically, spiritually, sociologically. And first is humbling. And that's why in the scripture it said, if my people who are called by my name, not pray first, but first humble themselves, then and only then will God hear anything from you. Your prayers, your voice, your cry, your plea, none of that will be heard by the Creator, Joe, unless there is humility. Humility. And so tonight, I was listening to the debacle. I mean, the debate. But it was really a debacle.
That's what you said.
It was a debacle. And I was not impressed with Secretary Clinton or Donald Trump. They both were very much immature. And it just goes to show you that they're not being honest and above board with the people, because there is some radical things you have to do when you realize that you have a system, a structure based on capitalism. And when you look at the structure and who gets what in terms of who gets the loans from the bank, who gets red line, who gets to move over here, who gets to pay for their education just out of their bank account, who can maneuver through certain financial crisis, etc. You got a whole different reality for some people. And that don't change unless you redistribute the wealth. And at the rate we are going, folks, I don't see, from what I heard tonight, I don't personally, I did not hear one particular policy that will be radical to the degree where it would impact those things that are going real wrong to the poor, be it black, be it white, be it Latinos, be it poor, whoever. I did not hear anyone say this is how we can fix it, and by a certain date or time, this percentage of people will now be working. This percentage of people will reduce poverty like that. My plan will reduce poverty. I didn't hear that.
Well, I think behind the lines that's going on already for Hispanics. Because if you look at what NICOR is doing to train Hispanics to read gas meters, to learn how to cipher gas, to extract gas, and they put a program in the grammar schools that's going to develop them from the grammar school all the way up. Now you got some group like the East Illinois University, who's given a $200-some million grant, I think, for Hispanics to become earth scientists.
Earth science.
So they can help cure the water. I think it's called the Agua program, where it's for Hispanics only. So they're quietly developing them, but they never done that much for us to try to help us. And then if you look at what I failed to mention last week, if you look at Ryan Emanuel's New American Citizen, how both Mayor Daley and he addresses the issue of Hispanics. And it shows you the platform that he did to not only just build new schools for them, but to increase their housing stock in America and in Chicago, and to create jobs. And I think it's listed that he's helped them create 250,000 jobs, but he hasn't done it in our community. So there are quiet things behind the scenes going on to help certain races of people develop, but it's not happening in our community. They even got a end safe whereas at Northeast University as well, Northeast Illinois University, as well as to track Hispanics in case they get lost or kidnapped. And it's in their school paper. We don't have those things going. We never had those kind of opportunities and offers for African American people.
Did you hear? Did you hear the point about the relationship? This whole piece about the relationship between the Black community and law enforcement. I don't know if you were listening to the debate, but we've heard this before. So you really didn't have to hear the debate to really know what they were going to be talking about. But sadly, the responses to it were very, very shallow to the degree where I heard the two major things. We need to build trust. How do you build trust? And then I heard, which you keep hearing, is training. So building trust and training.
But there's never been trust.
Right. Where there's never
training
been trust.
Should be replaced with penitentiary time. Those police should be in the penitentiary. There's no such thing as training. Those are grown men. And men are grounded in what they believe and their values are. There's no change in it. So training would have nothing to do with that.
Right.
But if you get them some act right, like send them to the penitentiary for the crime they committed against against Black people, that's the lesson they're gonna learn.
Yeah, and because the deterrence for young Black males or young Black females or Latino is incarceration. And at one point it was the electric chair. And when you think about it, but going back to the training thing. So when I heard both of them say that, neither one of them mentioned reducing crime by jobs, opportunities. If you're not going to give them to us, let us create our own, because there's still some business that we can do with each other.
Right.
That's a lot of money, because we still calling people to fix our homes and put the carpet in, or to do the plumbing, to come in to do electrical work, to do all kind of trades and different things that we as consumers need. We don't support each other. And I'm saying I did not hear anything in this debate at all that represented freedom, justice, or equality.
Well, I think maybe we look at the wrong places, because we keep looking to the mayor or certain politicians or certain people to
who should we be looking to?
Well, let me say this. We keep looking to them to put the police in line. But I was watching the Cowboy picture the other day. I think it was Wide Earth.
I'm glad you weren't watching the Magnificent Seven. I heard that was horrible.
The new one.
Somebody told me what a waste. But anyway,
I'm gonna watch it because I like Cowboys. And I was just thinking about how the Citizens Committee, how the citizens got together and told Wyatt Earp and them that they was gonna fire them. Remember when? And he fired him as a sheriff, and then he went to be the marshal.
Right.
You understand me?
I love that movie.
When we look at the processes that's going on right now with the police, how everybody's saying, well, we can't do anything because of the
FOP.
The FOP. You can change contracts like they change school contracts, like they're taking their pension money from the teachers. All those promises have been made, contractual. They're changing those. I know when it comes to the foundation of white people, especially the Irish and the Catholic, the Italians, those people who dominate the police department, the fire department, and other areas, they seem to can't break their contract. So I was just thinking maybe this is a fight between white folks, allowing certain white sectors to have dominant power over mediocre things, as long as the rich and the powerful continue to do what they do. And so this plays into the hand of racism. And so we keep looking at it as a lot of unskilled or educated Black folks come up. Well, they need training. They don't need no training, because they train them to come here. We did a poll of the Arabs in 2001 coming to Chicago, and we asked them what made them come here, how they came here. And a lot of them said they were running for prosecution, but they wasn't. They had did favors against their own government. So the United States bought them here. And they put them in a training class for 2 or 3 weeks and told them what community they was going to go in, and told them not to be friends with black people until they can sell black people anything, because black people buy from anybody. And they train every group of people to come over here against us. And that's what they do. And that's what we're stuck in right now, the same process that these white European, Catholic, Irish Protestants, whatever you want to call them, are coming over here with this attitude against us already. So this is something that we have to put back in the forefront. Everything we do is racism, because that's what it is. We can't call it nothing else. We can't call it no lack of training or those mediocre ideas that we're coming up with.
Yeah, and let me tell you something. What I love about where we are, and Michael mentioned this, and this word, Minister Mike, we have to continue to say it unapologetically. When you say that, what I hear from you, what I hear from Michael, what I hear from myself is love. Because if we did not love and were not the kind of people, we might be angry or come across, frustrated, but because of our love, deep love for humanity, yeah, we love our people, but our whole premise and perspective and mission, the new black leadership, Joe, is really about making America for real better. Making Chicago, you can't make nothing better if you ain't doing something to change the quality of life for people. And then in doing that, do we need to expose individuals or governments, etc., and really tear apart contradictions or policies that we know is really not there to advance people, but to keep people in the same struggling position forever?
Well, I think if we make ourselves better first, then
you're right.
All those things open up. The eye open up to see the chicanery that's going on in our community. So then it wouldn't be necessary that we had to spend our time exposing them, because along the way, as we develop ourselves and make ourselves better, we'll see it.
Yeah, I said this to someone regarding mentoring, and I say this.
Did you also,
again? I do, but this is what I said about mentoring. The only mentoring, look, nobody has come to me at all about it. And before any of these guys who's running around here talking about mentoring, and let me tell you this: when I was at the Chicago Urban League, I ran for years the male responsibility program, and I had Village Investment, a mentoring piece where I was training black men to be mentors, but these were young boys, little boys. But you got another group need a job. Mentor me while I'm on the construction site. When I punch in, then you can have conversations with me while I'm getting paid. Ain't no other mentoring. See, the other piece is wasting my time. You can't put me in no circle. I need a job. I need a job. And that's what young boys are trying to say to us. We got to replace, if that's their crutch. The messenger said this. The messenger told us, don't remove a man crutch unless you have something to replace it with. Leave him alone. You ain't got nothing to replace it with. So you say that the young men out here are doing destructive things. Where is your job placement? Where is it? And all of the people you and Mike been working with for years, man, frustrated. And believe it or not, had it not been for you, Joe, and Mike and a few others, that y'all had brothers that was unemployed sitting at those tables, and you all were fighting with everybody and all kind of folks just to open up the door for some jobs. Now that's crazy. And then you got other folks who playing spiritual, but you leaving many, many young men and women behind because you going along to get along. That ain't love. That ain't true friendship. That ain't true. That ain't a building of a relationship. That's BS.
And I don't think putting black men in a circle, which these people call peace circles now. To me, those are what you call it? What you call property pimp players. Putting young men in a circle and let them talk their heart out of what they all that. We didn't do that when we came. Don't know. No man is gonna get in front of other man and say things in a circle to the behest of saying, well, we're promoting peace or we're bringing out this person's problem.
No, when we got in the circle, we was in trouble. We got in the circle.
We was getting a violation or something. It wasn't that we were sitting down.
What was you going to say? Well, let me add this. I understand the spirit in which you're saying that, but it makes me think about the therapeutic environment. And a lot of us come from the recovery environment. So in recovery, if you're in a 12-step program, if you ever go to a 12-step meeting, people do bare their souls in those meetings, right? But it's attached to a therapeutic process. It's attached to a spiritual paradigm, and it's attached to tremendous peer pressure and collective resources that put motivation on you to transform yourself towards sobriety.
Makes sense.
So this idea of peace circles to solve violence is inept because the violence is rooted in racial and economic trauma and social trauma that affects us at the core of our formation in a way that peace circles are not equipped to address, because we come from broken homes where your father is below the poverty line. Many cases, your mother's below the poverty line. In most cases, mother and father have quit on the family concept. So there's division there and dysfunction is there. And there may be some type of emotional or physical neglect or abuse that's exacerbating our trauma and being trapped in a racist process that moves us toward acts of violence. So peace circles is really a pacifier. It's really putting a Band-Aid on a bullet wound.
And I think it's two age brackets too, because I think in the sobriety in the recovery community, there tend to be more grounded, elderly, older people, as opposed to the people they target in the peace circle. Those are young people. And young people ordinarily not going to tell their innermost secrets.
That's true.
Especially if it's telling against their family.
And then think about this. When I was doing the Mayor Responsibility Program, the criteria, Minister Michael, was that of someone that supposedly had or should be experiencing that kind of trauma, where father wasn't in their lives, mom was a teen mother, drop out. She had dropped out, all kind of negative stuff. They were born into the world from a situation to where if they got in a circle and they were talking, and all those young men began to talk about their feelings, and some of them might mention things regarding their father. But what you gonna do if in fact when they open up like that, when they do open up like that, and that goes back to what you said, Minister Mike, you have to be equipped with that type of information that you have in your program that scientifically and spiritually deal with that imbalance emotion, because that's what we get. But Joe, you and Minister Michael, both of you all, I want you all to, you always speak with conviction, you and Mike, but tell me this. You all have worked with a bunch of folks in the city of Chicago, tried. You've been at some of these tables and you've heard from certain folks, and when you heard it, you felt a certain kind of way that they're not really doing what they're doing in the interest of the people, and it was from a selfish perspective, or they have been co-opted. How, what did it take? Because I know you've had to lose some money or some deals and some contracts, etc., because you were not going to go along with that, because it was really about individual prosperity and not group exactly reinvestment or advancement.
I think
because you used to turn over tables.
Yeah, but I think this message got so. I think this.
But Jesus did too when he first went into the tabernacle.
Right.
You know, he turned over the table. So you guys walking in the right.
Yeah, but see, we didn't come to join the party. You just destroyed the party. But you know what? I think this message has gotten so far out of hand now, man, that I don't know what kind of intervention it's going to take, other than the payoff. And the reason I say that is because you got a certain age bracket of, okay, now I'm going to start with the gang element. Let's say we start with the guys who used to be in the gang, and the guys who still carry it in their heart. They don't care about the other people that's coming in gangs. They don't care about the people that they network in gangs. So if you're not paying them, for one thing, they're not going to get involved. And another thing, a lot of guys were broken and beat down and had their lives torn apart in prison. And so they hate a lot of these other guys.
Oh boy.
And so they would not lift one finger to try to stop this stuff that's going on because of the hatred and the jealousy and the envy that they carry in their heart, and the larceny that they care for other people in their heart. And a lot of things happen to people in jail that we might discuss on this show that broke them, and they gonna carry that with them the rest of their life. And we're talking about thousands of black men who were involved in this. So a lot of them don't care about what these kids are doing in the street. And so that's one element. Then you got the element of, say, people my children's age, in their 30s, middle 30s, who told me I couldn't tell them what to say, or couldn't tell them what to do. You know, and this is their mantra. You know, when they're during the Tupac era, the children that come up during the era and say we couldn't tell them. So now that's a trickle down to the other kids now. So now we have a group of people who are in their 30s who you can say at least 60% of them don't even go to school. They dropped out of school. And now it's been passed on to the next generation, where the next generation who in their teens to the upper 30s have also dropped out of school in third grade. So they don't know how to navigate the community. They don't know how to take down resources. You got women that they just had babies. They don't know how to get no money from the state. They don't even know how to go get the town or the food stamp money. I mean, so they're really lost. And so you're dealing with men, young men in the same age bracket, who hate everything and jealous of everything and shooting. And see, when we were coming up, you can point to the hardcore killer, or a person who would be a killer, or a person who's doing a killer. Now you got what I call sissy booties, guys who can't even fight, who will shoot you in a minute, young kids. You understand me? Who when we came up, we had a tradition of respect. They'd ride down the street now and shoot in a crowd. They don't care if your mother or your kids are there. You know, this kind of hatred that they have developed. So hatred. Our problem is exacerbated way out of control now. So the only future I see in this now is that strong men, like for instance, today they had a program about BAM on TV. I don't know if you all caught it. I think I mentioned it last week, but anyway, they had it today on Channel 11, where they had on TV saying that they have reached 2 million people, or 200,000 people, should I say, and or vice versa, and that they're spread it to other cities. But the difference between what I told you all last week is that they're creaming. They're not dealing with the people that we deal with. They're dealing with people that go to school. You understand me?
That's right.
And they're not teaching them how to be strong men. They mention them in a different form. They're not mentioning them to be hardcore, strong black men who have a premise to say that my goal is to house, clothe, feed, and develop and educate and protect black folks and make sure we have everlasting this is on this earth. They're not looking for that. They're looking for diversity. Once you mention them and they go on to college, they're not coming back to the hood. And the same people that's in those programs are not going to come in the hood. And I was listening to...
That's deep right there, man.
I was listening to the, at the University of Chicago, they got a class called Gangs. And I'm the only one in the class that's been a penitentiary, been in the gang, and they failed me. and so the students had to protest the instructor.
Say that again, Joe. This man just said there's a class over at the University of Chicago
called Gangs.
Yes. You the only one in the class been in the gang and failed.
Right. And I was the only one that failed because I didn't buy into the 5 premises that they say that people join the gang. So I went out and did my own homework, and I interviewed people in Robert Taylor and Osby Wills. I brought back to school. The teacher told me I was undermining her. Don't I ever dare do that again?
No, boy.
And so I took her same questions that they're going by the book by, and I posed it to the children. You understand me? And
you exposed her.
Right. And so she
exposed her.
She got angry with me, and so she failed me. And so the students made her give me, that's my grade, but she still wouldn't do it, but she gave me a C, I think, a C minus.
Oh, you in the past?
Yes. Say this.
Gang, you got
I was listening to the program today on Channel 11, and they had the group BAM. They're the creators of the director BAM, and they were talking about navigating the street, and he said that program in existence, I think, about 15 years, well, maybe. Anyway, before I came to the University of Chicago, they never said navigate the street. And so I just thought about how we used to be in these classes, and I would give all this information up. We had all these bystanders, visitors, like the lady that owns Ceasefire, and all of them would be in our classes.
Okay.
So they were ciphering everything they could out of me. So now they pass it on to these groups. So the young fellow was on TV talking about, she asked him, what was he proud of? He said he was proud of how he teaching the kids how to navigate the street. So the white lady, whatever her name is, the host of the show, she said, you mean navigate as I'm on one side of the street and you're on the other side of the street? And so I immediately kicked in to something I said to them that they're using, because they never knew about navigating the street, and they still don't know how to navigate the street. You understand me? It's just a word they picked up and they just slinging it around loosely now. And the reason I say that is because everybody I know, they brag on all the students that went through their program, all of them that finished college, but they never brag about how many of them came back to save a life and make a difference in the community. They never bragged about how many of them got jobs, went on to employment. You understand me?
Yeah, and that's got to be really tough for you and Michael, because y'all work have been very similar in terms of, I know how you were navigating and even being in that kind of class environment. And then I know Mike, he had the tenacity to go, and a lot of those cats, Mike, who came to the Urban League when we had 21st Century, etc. They had more respect for Mike and a few other cats in there than anybody, because they were hurting. And they never wanted to be
there in the first place.
And that goes
that's what I was talking about earlier. So a lot of them are involved in these processes because they were forced to. We need to find somebody who wants to be involved because they have compassion.
That's right.
From the heart.
That's right.
You understand me? And that's a totally different atmosphere about saving lives and making a difference in our community.
That's right.
When you got different core or different elements of people who have different things on their mind about how they, go along and get involved in things. And that's what we are at as a people right now. If it ain't about the money, they don't care about their fellow man.
And it's sad. Why would you? And Mike, and Mike, jump in here for a minute, because before I even say what I was getting ready to say, when you brought those individuals to the table, I know there were some people didn't believe you could. But what was it that? And I've never asked you this question, but I want to know publicly. What did you say to a person like T-Fly or some of the other cats that came to that table, bro? Because everybody was at that table. What did you say to them to make them feel? Was it, we want people, we love each other, that we shouldn't be fighting? What did you say to them?
No, I can answer that for you. It's not what he said. I would say it's more his personality and what he brought to the situation. What he brought to the
inspiration,
right? And that's how I got attracted to Mike. And so, you will find some hardcore guys who were jealous of Mike, who didn't want to come to the table, but since the masses, they wanted the masses, they had to come along. And that's usually how it happened, because it takes me back to when we first started in 2000, and we were struggling for a minute. And then when the kids got killed over in the building, and when the guy ran over remember that? And then we went out. We started a different method on how to recruit. So at first, I went to the individuals themselves, and it didn't work. So then we had to go to their bosses. You understand me?
Oh boy!
And then that's how we kind of brought everybody into the table.
Do you think if Hoover and Jeff Ford, Malik, if you think they walked out right now, say next week, even though the media would be all over with their stupidity, but with the social media, we could kind of derail some of that stupidity and their narrative, which is typically to destroy. But if those guys got out, how would they approach this? Do they have any type of influence?
Well, I'm gonna say
right
like
now,
you said, as the years go by, it'll be harder and harder for them to come out there and do that. Now, if maybe we had to reach back 4 or 5 years ago, maybe they could have came out here and nipped us in the bud. But I think now that the pendulum has switched, it's swung a different way. And it's a different attitude of mindsets out there now of young people who are defiant. And it goes back to what I was saying earlier, where you can't tell them nothing what to do. You understand me? And so we got this power of, not that they are hardcore men, because if you're hearing them up in a situation that Malik and Larry come from, they'll break down like a cow. But since we got outside forces that's feeding them weaponry, they think they're on top of the world. You understand me? And so now
really sad
that whoever got the best gun or the biggest gun, they are sort of in control now.
708-223-8953. You got to wrap this up, but you still got a minute or two to call in. Mike, you want to just weigh in there for a minute on that question? I think Joe answered it in terms of, your spirit and personality, but the strategy, but even before the strategy, because even with us, I think what you said is so profound, because the way we connected to a beautiful man was the spirit. We felt the love. We felt the care, the sincerity, because I'm from the Robert Taylor. Mike was out there doing things out south, near Julian, and doing his thing. But we ended up on that same path, but we wasn't no punks, not like we needed to join anything. But that goes to show you that inside of us is love. I mean, it ain't anger. It ain't this, we trying to take over. We really want to make America great for real.
That's because we care
But
about
great.
people.
That's because we care about people.
See, everybody don't care about our people.
That's right.
And see, some people take advantage of being charismatic for their own gain.
That's right.
Teach.
You know? And so sometimes it may take you a lifetime to identify it. But some of us may pick up right away. And that's why you see you may say, well, those 5 guys were jammed, and then 3 of them went on to start their own process. And 2 of them backed out of it because they knew that they were full of bull, you know.
And what you said is so profound, brother. It's one piece that I remember forever. What you just said, it's the game, it's monetary. I've heard this before, but I thought about, and I'm not gonna call some of these cats and dignify them, but they bring people on their talk shows, on their radio shows, and they want to sound so intelligent, but none of that is to move the needle. You know, in terms of the struggle for the people. It's really to make them seem as though they got something, their own grandizement, and they diversed, and they can bring, damn them discussions, man. I'm still trying to figure out how we're going to feed people that are hungry. Other than that, there's nothing to talk about. But man, Joe, thank you again for doing part 2.
Well, I promise I'll be on time next week.
Well, you did a good job of getting here, period, man. Folks, thank you for tuning in. And nothing but love and respect for you all. And I didn't mean to disturb the debacle between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, but you tell me.
That's nice.
You can call me and tell me why. Just tell me. Anyway, this is the New Black Leadership, and you know what we're about on IntellectualRadio.com. Thank you. See you next week. Same time, same place. God willing. Peace.